Hi, I'm Chef Nicholas Lodge and welcome to this video where I'll be showing you how to use my brand new Flower Pro bamboo mold. This innovative mold allows you to make half relief or three-dimensional bamboo and many different variations with using it. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make realistic bamboo, also how to use bamboo on cakes and variation on coloring and styles of bamboo. I also have another video, so check that out. And that video actually predominantly shows how to use the bamboo mold in half relief sections to go on the side of a cake, around the cake board. And also I show how to make like purse and luggage handles, and also how to use the bamboo on cookies and cupcakes. So let's get started. So here is my bamboo mold. The bamboo mold has 3 different size cavities: large, medium, and small, and also has this small cavity here, which is going to be used for the small bamboo, sort of like the stick underneath where the foliage, where the leaves sit. So this mold can be used in half relief or in 3-dimensional, and I'm going to talk a little bit about both of those techniques. And remember, check out my other video, which shows how to use the bamboo on cakes, on cookies, and cupcakes. For making the bamboo, I'm going to show you first how to make the bamboo leaves. Now, that is an optional step because sometimes when you use bamboo, you might use bamboo just like this, like a bamboo cane. This would be like green bamboo. This would be like dried bamboo. Or alternatively, you can make it realistic, how it grows, where we would actually have the bamboo, the little offshoots, and then of course the leaves added to them. Now, when you're doing the bamboo, you want to make the leaves first, because when we actually make the main bamboo, we'll actually press the stems of the leaves into the inside just to make a cavity. So we need to have those pre-made. For that, I'm going to use my wedding foliage mold. Now, the wedding foliage mold is, of course, covered in book number 3. And this, again, innovative mold makes 6 different types of foliage. On that mold, there is the Italian ruscus. All right, so this is the Italian ruscus. And this is what I'm going to use for my bamboo leaves. I also use this for palm leaves as well. So when we are making the Italian ruscus in our directions, we're going to use number 6 size for the large leaf. I'm going to use number 6 small for the medium and number 5 small for the small. And you can check out, of course, my Italian ruscus YouTube as well. I'm going to use here some green. This is just like a moss green flower modeling paste, gum paste. And I have here a number 6 size. I'm just going to show you one leaf. I'm going to show you the large leaf. And so we're going to use these are our 3 cavities. This is our large leaf, our medium leaf, and our small leaf. They're the ones with the lines on them, okay? So we have here a number 6 size ball of paste. So this is going to be using number 6. So we're going to make that into number 6 ball. So about 1/3 below, 2/3 above. The new plastic size guide, Flower Pro size guide, is really nice because you can wipe this clean and it's very durable. So I'm going to take just a little bit of vegetable shortening. And of course, you can make however many of these you're going to make, like 9 of these. You can make them and put them underneath the pot. Now we're going to take, you can either rub a little bit of vegetable shortening into the mold like this, or you can also use just a brush. And if you watch on my previous video, I used the brush, which is good when you're sort of doing some of the larger cavities. We're going to make this into carrot shape. You can just dust a little cornstarch on there if it's a little sticky. I'm going to put this into the mold, and I'm just going to press this in with my cosmetic sponge. This will come down to fill the mold up like so. Okay. We're going to make and establish a little ridge here. So with my companion tool, I'm going to make a little tiny ridge into the paste. And I'm going to take a 28 gauge wire. I'm using white wire. You could use green as well, but because this is not such a dark colored leaf, I'm going to use a white wire. So I'm going to dip the wire into some egg white. So just going to put that into some egg white or some glue. Just get rid of the excess egg. And then we're going to then thread the wire into the ridge. That goes into the ridge here. It wants to go in about sort of halfway up the leaf. Now in your directions for the ruscus, you can either use the fan veiner. So the fan veiner comes with the ultimate sunflower and daisy and Gerber daisy mold, or you can use the back of the lily. This is the back of that comes with the lily set for the lily leaves. So just going to line this up. So we're going to line it up. So of course your wire is going to be in a little V shape there. I'm going to press that down So you're going to get these nice lines coming down your leaf, okay? And then we're just going to simply remove this from the mold. It's very, very easy leaf to make. And then all we're going to do then, just use your companion tool. And with my companion tool, I'm just going to hollow the base of the leaf around the companion tool. Just give it a little bit of shape. And then we're going to place this to dry. So just place this to dry. If you do have a little bit of over, that means when you press on, I maybe press a little bit hard, so you can just trim that with a pair of scissors if you need to. It just means it sort of overfilled the mold a little bit. And just going to pop those into dry. And so these will just dry on convoluted or crepe foam, and you of course would make as many of these as you need. Now when bamboo grows, all right, there are many different varieties of bamboo, as I'm going to show you in the next segment. So of course the number of leaves you use and the size of leaves will be dependent a little bit on the project or the size of bamboo, whether you're using the small, the medium, or the large bamboo. But this is how we would make the leaves. So you can do a search like here. I just did a search on Google on bamboo and just obviously put in images. You can see this shows, of course, the many, many variations on style of type of bamboo. And of course, you know, when the bamboo is growing, it's going to be green. Then of course you also have like lucky bamboo, straight or curly, which I'm going to talk a little bit later on. And then of course you have the dried type of bamboo, which will give you these sort of nice, sort of more sort of honey sort of colors. So of course, you know, depending on how you're going to use the bamboo. But also you'll see here on the images, it shows some of the different configurations of leaves, because sometimes the leaves will be in 3s or 5s and they can be like a fan shape. And then sometimes the leaves are going to be, as I said, sort of more spread out. So as I said, you can find many images on doing the bamboo and giving you obviously inspiration for coloring. So with making bamboo, you can first of all, like on my other video where I showed doing the green bamboo, I just started off with sort of a bright green color. And you'll see how I use that on the cake side. You'll also see that cake at the end of this video where I'll show how to put the bamboo, the lifelike bamboo and orchids onto the cake. Then you can also do like a creamy color, all right? So if you're doing sort of going to dust this in a more of a sort of a lighter green, you could start off with a cream colored paste. You can do a darker cream, and so the darker cream color was the color I showed again on my other video where I showed how to make, like for example, a purse or a luggage handle, bamboo luggage handle, or when you're doing the actual rattan cake board and the bamboo around the edge of the cake board, I did this color. So that you could start off with a cream or, as I said, a darker cream color. So sort of somewhere in the ivories through to the dark creams, okay? And then the color I'm going to use for the realistic bamboo is going to be this almost like a khaki color. So it's a gray, it's sort of a creamy green color. So when I colored this sugar paste, this rolled fondant, I just used some cream and a little bit of green. So I've got a cream and green. So it's got almost like a sort of a slight, very, very pale sort of olivey color. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the fondant. So like on a lot of my, for example, my antlers or my pine cones or my mushroom and toadstool mold, I'm going to modify the paste here. So I need 115 grams of paste. So I'm going to take 115 grams of the paste here. And once I have 115 grams, so I have 115 grams of paste. So then I'm going to take 1/4 teaspoon of Tylose and 1/4 teaspoon of vegetable shortening. So you see it's a sort of a creamy green color. So like I said, like almost like a khaki color, khaki green. So we're going to take 1/4 teaspoon of Tylose and 1/4 teaspoon of vegetable shortening. And then we're going to mix this together. Okay, so about 1/4. I generally just do this by eye. Just going to mix these together. Now when I'm doing, when I'm using the modified fondant like this, in some of my videos, you'll see how I instruct to leave it to firm up for about 15 minutes. So when you're doing things like my mushroom molds and toadstools, I would generally leave it for about 15 minutes. When we're doing it for the bamboo, you can use it pretty much straight away because this bamboo mold is much more of a simple shape and it's not as complicated. And as you will see on my other video, you can also, when you're using bamboo, for example, for going up the side of a cake, I just generally use it straight sugar paste or straight fondant, okay? So we're going to take the paste here. Now when we do the bamboo, we're going to be using the mold, all right? So we're going to be using the mold. I'm going to show you the small bamboo here. All right, so just to give you an example, an idea, this is the small bamboo here. Okay, and so this is the small bamboo. This one here is the larger bamboo. Okay, and then the medium, of course, is in between the two. Okay, and so again, depending on how you're going to use it, the size of your cake. And so when we use this in your directions with your mold, we'll talk about this, but this is actually made number 12 small. Okay, this is going to be number 13, and this is going to be number 15 small. Okay, so we're going to be using a number 12 small ball of paste. Now, when we make the bamboo, there are two ways to make this. The first one is going to show you how to do this with 1/2. Okay, so we're going to do 1/2 of this. So we're going to take your, so there's going to be a number 12 small. All right, so that wants to just go through the hole. And then, again, if you're making several of these, you would just measure some other balls of paste the same size. I'm just going to measure 3 of these because I'm just going to show you, as I said, a couple of variations on this. So these will be ready for the bamboo. And when you make the bamboo, so first of all, I'm going to show you how to make, if you're going to do the bamboo in 2 halves. So again, with a lot of my Flower Pro and Nicholas Lodge brand products, like for example, when I do my pine cones, when I make my antlers, I do 1/2 and then do the second half. All right, and on something like a pine cone, because it's more, as I said, in sort of unique shape, that's the best option there. But when we do the bamboo, because it's more of a simple shape, you can do this with 2 halves, 1/2, let it dry, then the second half, or you can do it, as I'm going to show you, also where you would make 2 halves and use them at the same time. Now, so what we do there is you would take your paste, and because we want this to dry, I generally would make this, so you make your leaves, then you can go straight onto your bamboo. So we're going to take a little bit of vegetable shortening, vegetable fat here. And again, just going to just brush this on. So I just keep, this brush is actually a stencil brush. It's got short bristles. And I'm just going to do a very light coating of that. And you only need to do that sort of every so often. Also remember, when you're using this mold, when you finish with it, make sure you wash it with some dish detergent, some dish soap washing up liquid. So we're going to roll this into a sausage. This sausage wants to be made to approximately the length of the mold. All right, like this. And then what we're going to do is you're going to take your paste. You're going to start at the end here. And then with my paste, what I'm doing is I'm pressing with my cosmetic sponge. Okay. At the end of the mold, you're going to use your little flexi scraper. You're going to just almost just press that like a little dam here. So that's just going to make sure that that has a sort of a square edge. And then what you'll actually do there is you're going to take the other end and you're using your mold here. So you see how I'm actually just stretching the paste down. So I'm using this end. This is a little bit more paste than we need. And you'll see this on my other video as well, because you've got then something to hold on to. So I'm almost just tugging on this paste to fill this up level. On my other video for using the bamboo, when I show how to do the, say, the purse handbag handle, I also talk about extending this to make it longer, because this is a continuous mold. So if you wanted to make it the length of the width, circumference of a cake, you can totally do that. Then using my Flower Pro flexi scraper, I'm just going to go along here. Just going to press that on. So this is going to give you this. So you see there's like 3 steps. So when you do the medium one, you would be, and then the top one would just be flat. So you've got the step here, and the step there. I'm going to then just trim the end of this. Okay. And now I'm going to take, next we're going to take an 18 gauge wire. So I'm using an 18 gauge, I'm using a white wire, but green could also be used as well. And when you're doing the bamboo, when we make the bamboo, we're going to generally put the wire in, but not right the way to the end. Because usually if I'm going to do the bamboo, I'm going to cut the end at an angle, all right? Or I'm going to leave it flat on the top. So you want to have the wire just a little bit past below the edge of the bamboo. So you're going to take your, the wire now. Going to use some piping gel. So I'm going to use some piping gel on the wire. So taking my wire here, And then what I'm going to do there is I'm just going to brush the piping gel, so just almost like hold the wire. So you see literally I'm about sort of a half an inch, just over about a centimeter from the end there, like so. Okay, and then I'm going to just brush wire just onto one side of the, brush the piping gel onto one side of the wire. You can also use corn syrup as well, but generally something that's a little thicker than an edible glue. I'm going to turn it over, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take that, I'm going to push that into the mold like so. Okay, and I'm just going to press with my flexi scraper. I'm pressing that in. So you see how that's going to press the wire to embed it into so it's flat in the mold. Okay, just want to just get rid of any piping gel so you don't have a sticky surface to work on. And then what we would then do, you flex the mold here like so, and you're going to take your bamboo out of the mold. All right, so you see how this is very realistic bamboo. Now on the end of this, all right, so on the end of this you can cut this at an angle, so you can use your scissors here. All right, so because this will ultimately be the back of the bamboo, all right, this will be the back or the front of the bamboo, so it doesn't really matter. But so you're either going to cut this, if you want to have your bamboo like this, you see how I've got this angle at the end here, like that. So what I would normally do then, so if this is going to be like your front of your bamboo, you cut with your scissors this way. So you see, so with my scissors, I'm going to cut with the scissors that way, like that. Okay, and then if I was going to do, obviously the other way, you would cut with your scissors like that. So basically, you're just going to cut it at an angle. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to do the first part of this. Now, the end of the bamboo, I'm using here a wooden dowel. Okay, so this is just a wooden dowel. You can also use a pen. So this is basically the size of a pen. And on my fungi and mushroom mold, my toadstool mushroom mold, I'd show you this. But so you're going to use, as I said, so if you cut a wooden dowel, it's going to have a rough end on it. So what we then do is you're going to just take here, going to use the end of my dowel. I'm just going to just push this into push this off here. And then we're just going to, because remember, we're going to be making the other half of this. So you're just going to create like almost like half of a circle, you see? So you see how I'm just going to push that in. You'll see the other half of this once we do this, all right? So, and then if you're using, so this is going to give you like a little bit of texture on there. If you're using a pen, you'd press your pen into the end like that. And again, just cut that off level, okay? And then what you can actually do is use your companion tool, the needle tool, and you could just make some little tiny dot in there, you see? So you're just gonna get like some little texture on the end there. So remember, we're only making the first half of this because when we make the back, we'll make the other half of this part. Now this will then need to dry, okay? So as I said, I'm gonna be showing you two different methods. So this would need to dry. And while that's drying, so generally when you dry this, I would put it in a food dehydrator, which I use for most of my drying of things. It obviously expedites and speeds up the drying process. A food dehydrator is a very good investment if you're doing a lot of cakes and sugar flours and things, and especially if you live in a humid environment. So like I do, it's going to dry things really quickly. So you just put this into the food dehydrator for about 2 hours, or leave this about 6 hours at room temperature. Okay, you could just leave it overnight. So you could do this one day, the next day you come back and do the next part of it. So while that's drying, what we're going to do is we're actually going to put the leaves together. And because when we do the second part of this, we need to have the leaf sprays ready to go. So we're going to take the leaves. So, you know, if you were doing this in actual time, you'd make your leaves so they could be dry, and then you'd make your half of your bamboo if you're going to use that method. Then we're going to put the leaves together. And so we're going to use some quarter width green floral tape. I'm going to start the floral tape off, and then we're just going to just slide the tape up. So remember, slide this up to the bottom of the wire, and you want to come down about an inch, about 2.5 centimeters down the wire. Okay, so you're going to do this on your leaves. Going to slide this up to the bottom and come down about. And then you're going to decide on your configuration. So having shown you the bamboo images, you know, sometimes you might have, like, for example, 3 large leaves or 3 medium or 3 small. And then a lot of times you'll have like 3 leaves, like here we have a large, a medium, and a small. And bamboo is a little different. On a lot of varieties of bamboo, the larger leaves are first, and then you have the smaller leaves down here. Whereas on certain other leaves, you have the smaller leaves first and the bigger leaves down. So this is similar to a rose. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take the leaf and we're just going to stagger these leaves just a little bit. All right, like so. And we're just going to start the floral tape. I'm going to come around with my floral tape here and come down just a little ways. You can do like a group. So you can see this is a medium and a small leaf. Because when you're doing the bamboo, you'll want to have, you can see here I've got on this one ready for dusting, I've got a medium and a small, and then I have a large, a medium, and a small. Okay, so you can do smaller groups. Then I'll come down just a little ways, and then I will just add my small one here. And at this point, all right, at this point here, we're going to take this is 24 gauge wire. It can be white or green. And this is 5 centimeters or 2 inches long. You'll just add that at that intersection because we're going to be putting some paste here. So we just need to make this a little bit thicker. So we're adding a 5 centimeter wire there where the obviously leaves meet. And then we're just going to just tape down. And then just going to tape down to the bottom here. These will be trimmed a little bit later on. So this gives you your leaf configurations, all right? Next step is going to be to actually use the bamboo mold. So this little tiny piece here is going to be used for the bamboo, and this is actually going to be used to encase the paste here. You can see these will actually go around almost like a little sub branch, because on the bamboo, when the bamboo grows, you have these little, and you can actually use those just as is, all right? And then that just has a wire in it, or you can, of course, put this around. And that is why we would need to have the leaves pre-made, okay? So what we do here is we're going to take a number 7 small size ball of paste. So we're going to take a 7 small. And once you measure that, so it wants to just go through the number 7 hole. So it wants to be a number 7 that just goes through the hole, okay? And then again, what we're going to do here is we're going to just brush a little bit of vegetable shortening onto here, okay? And then we're going to take the paste, just going to roll that into a sausage. Again, about the length of this. Now, this has been made that you can make this shorter if you wish to, which is, so you generally can do this on the side, little sidebar, that's the length of it and the design it will have. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So you're just going to place your paste into the mold. So you're just going to place that into your mold, and that should fill the mold up level. This will come to the end. So using your cosmetic sponge, you just press this into the mold like this, okay? And then what I'm going to do is going to take my bamboo, all right? And you're going to take the bamboo, and then you're going to take your little bit of piping gel. So with some piping gel here, I'm going to put a little bit of piping gel onto my, and I'm actually going to brush this sort of all over where the white wire, the 24 gauge wire was added. So see where the leaves meet, you're just going to put some piping gel over there. Now I'm actually going to put this, this is the front of the leaves, all right? So I'm going to actually put that down. So I'm going to put that down onto there like so. I'm just going to press that into the mold. You just have to be a little bit careful here when you do this. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to flex going to push this into the mold like that. And then I'm just going to flex the mold, because what I want to do is I want to press the paste around so I'm bringing the paste. So you see what I'm actually doing is I'm encasing the bamboo here like that. So you're just going to bring your paste around. You can pop this back into the mold. If your paste is a little sticky, you know, if you use too much cornstarch, too much piping gel, just put a little bit of cornstarch onto there. You're just going to bring this around, and then you can put it back into the mold, all right? So you can just put it back into the mold there. Just as I say, when you're using the piping gel, sometimes you might use a little bit too much of it. So you can just pop a little little bit of cornstarch onto there, like so. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm going to use the mold, and you can see here what I'm actually doing there is I'm just sort of pressing the paste around the mold. So I'm actually covering over the paste with the mold. So just going to bring this around like that. And then I'm going to rotate the paste around. Just going to just press that into the other side of the mold, just gently. So you're going to get this. So this is going to cover over, this you're going to get your little side part. Now we're going to take your scissors, and I'm just going to just trim the end off of this because I want to sort of have it so it's going to be a little bit tapered. Okay, it's going to be a little bit tapered there. And then you decide, now you'll see how with the mold, all right, this is made, you've got an angle. So you can decide on how long you want to have that. Okay, so again, and also the other thing is it's going to be dependent on how it's going to sit. So a lot of times what I would suggest you do, this is your dry half, okay, is that you're going to have a look and see, like if this is going to sit, for example, on this side, you know, how long do you want this part to be? And then you can actually just use your scissors here and you can cut that at an angle like that, because that's sort of how that's going to sit, all right? So that sort of be how you would do your little side part there. All right, now if you were doing your, now when you're doing a little tiny one, you can see like here, all right, it's just a little tiny one there. So again, you can take this, but here what we can do is you can just literally just use the mold, all right, and you can make just a little sausage, and I'm going to put it in the middle where the indentation is here from the mold. Just going to place that in. Going to push this into the mold. So you see what I've done is I've just filled the middle of the mold, and again this is just going to make a much sort of like a smaller, just a little bit of piping jar, remember, not too much. So if you just need a short piece there, you can actually, and if your leaves are in the way, just bend them up like so. So you see how I can literally just put that on here like so. And I'm going to take my companion tool, just going to push this on. So you see how that's going to be embedded into the paste. And again, I would just use my mold and I would just pull the paste around there like so. So you see how you have a much shorter version and you've got the little part in the middle here. And again, we're just going to then just trim the top because you want this slight tapered part there. And you can just stretch your paste around, just carefully, just bring your paste around. But you see the mold is going to give you that nice detail in the middle there. And again, so if we were going to have your, all right, so obviously you've got your options here. You could go on the side here. So this one would be here. And then let's say, for example, you want to have one about here. And again, you just would cut your paste at an angle like that. All right, so that we know that that's going to sort of fit in, because once we get the second half done, we'll be putting those, making holes for those to sit into, okay? So that's sort of how you would do the, this sort of main part of the bamboo, the sort of the main, and then when you're doing the little offshoot part, so when you're doing that, all you do is you just take your, again, a number 7 small of paste. This is the one that I have here. You see this one, I'm going to just do like a little end part there. But this is nice for, you know, like as I said, it looks very realistic then. So we're going to take a number 7 small. We're going to fill the mold up. Again, just put a little bit of shortening into there. Just going to roll that into a sausage. Put just again a little bit of cornstarch on there if it's a little sticky. All right, so we're going to just put that into the mold. Also remember, if your scraper gets sticky, just give that a little bit of a wipe there. So you see how I'm just made that in the mold like so. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take my wire. I'm going to put just a little bit of piping gel onto this. So this is my 2-inch piece of the 24 gauge wire. And then And here you can actually like thread it in, or you can press it in, but you can actually thread that in to the, just like I'm going to put the wire on the main one. And then you're going to, again, just mold this around. Bring this down just a little bit more here. There we go. Just make sure you stay within the mold, okay? It's just going to push this into the mold here. Then again, just flex your mold. And on this one here, I will then rotate that in the mold and re-press it in. So you see you have this nice realistic looking piece here. All right, and then all I'm going to do here is on the end of this, I'll just hollow this out. I'm just going to use my scissors. Again, I'm just going to take my scissors, just going to cut this at a slight angle, and I will then just hollow that out with my little companion tool here. Instead of my little companion tool, we're going to just use that just to hollow that out. You see how this is going to give you this little end piece of bamboo, all right? This little end piece of the bamboo, and you'll have that at an angle. And so you see then that would just dry, and that would be ready to go in as like a little offshoot here, okay? Anyway, so that's using the little side, part of the mold. But that little tiny part is also useful to use for sort of small cookies and things as well as little design elements or even on a cake. So that's sort of how we would prep the, so we've got the bamboo pieces ready to go onto the leaves. All right, so next step we're going to go on to is I'm going to show you how to do the back of the bamboo. So then we would, of course, dry these parts as well. So once you have everything dry, okay, so you've got one half dry, you have the two little small stems on the bottom of the foliage dry, we're then ready to move on to the next step. Now for that, we're going to repeat the process, all right? So we're going to repeat the process for the bamboo. And so we have another number 12 small, or remember, obviously number 13 or 15 small, 13 for the medium, 15 small for the large, okay? So depending on what sort of scale you want for the bamboo to be. So we're going to, again, just roll this out. It's going to take you a little bit of, roll this into your sausage here. So the bamboo is a little bit of a process, you know, meaning, but of course, as I'm showing you in almost like actual time, that's how you would do it. You know, you'd make your leaves, then you'd make your first half of your bamboo, then you do your leaf. Once the leaves are dry, you do this part on the leaves, then you just let everything dry completely, and then you're going to be ready. But popping those in a food dehydrator, you see like 45 minutes will be dry enough to work with, or 2 or 3 hours at room temperature. So then again, we're going to then, now I'm right-handed, so in my first video, I talk a little bit about this, but if you're doing, in my other video on the cakes, but as I said, if you're right-handed, generally I'm using my left thumb and finger to pull the paste. If you're left-handed, obviously use your right. So you see how you put the paste into the mold, okay? So you put that at one end, and then what you're going to do is you're going to start stretching, you see? So I'm stretching with this hand, so what this means is that you're not overfilling the mold. You see how you're stretching this down as you go? So this means you have then the paste will be level in the end there. And remember, you're always going to have a piece left over, which is what we're using to pull out with. All right, then we're going to take your, again here, just going to work your edge there. Going to cut this edge off. All right, so then what we're going to do is going to take some piping gel. So then we're going to take piping gel. So you need something that's thicker than edible glue. So piping gel, can also use my Nicholas Lodge Super Bond. That's a thick glue as well. Corn syrup could be used, but just something that's sort of thick, okay? Because as I said, edible glue is really not, it's more runny. So you need something that's going to form contact. So just like, you know, making my antlers or in my pine cone, same concept we're using here. All right, so this is my dry half. All right, so then you're going to take your dry half there. Now this one I cut in the opposite way. You know, this one I cut obviously angled front, this one I've cut angled back. So really, as it doesn't matter because you're going to just put your holes into the, so one of your, so you're going to cut that way or you're going to cut that way at an angle, but you're just going to line that up with the top. Now, of course, you're going to line this up with your, you'll see where the sort of the little lines are here, like the ribbon. You see, doing it in this method, you can press nice and firmly here because that first half is dry. Okay, and then when you take this out of the mold, you see pretty much you're going to get a perfect seam there. See? So you're going to get a perfect, you really don't have a seam. It's a little bit like on my pine cones using this method. All right, so then when you come to the other end, you see, so now what we're going to do is we're going to then cut that. So of course this time we're going to cut here like that. And then again, I'm just going to use my little dowel. I'm going to push this into the end here. Just going to push the paste around that. So you see how you're going to get this nice natural end to your as I said, your bamboo. Just push that in, but remember you can use your pen. So if you're using your pen, just use the pen end, all right? So just use your pen end like this. Just push around here like that, and then again, just take your companion tool and just use a little bit of texture there, just to give a little bit of texture on the end. Because when you are using bamboo, like as I say, a floral designer, when you grow, bamboo grows huge. I mean, sometimes it's 3 meters, like 9 feet or taller. So the thing is, you're normally just gonna lop off a piece of branch and then use that with the shoots coming out from it. We're gonna talk about lucky bamboo a little later on because that's a shorter bamboo, which obviously is popular as a house plant. All right, so this means that this is my hard, firm side, this is my soft side, all right? So, of course, if you, depending which way you cut it, you either have the dry part on the front or the dry part at the back, so it really doesn't matter. And then what you'll do is you'll take your little side offshoot parts here, and then with your tweezers, just hold them, I'm just holding that with my tweezers, just gonna push down, all right? We're not really bending it with your tweezers, but you're just gonna push it down like this, okay? And you'll do the same on the one here, because we don't want to bend it with the tweezers, we're just gonna bend it down a little bit. Sorry, this one comes down, there we go. All right, like that. And then you're going to take, don't want to use your companion tool here because you might sort of bend the end of it, but you want to use like a cookie scribe needle, or you can use a, this is like a scribe needle for cookies, you could use a bradawl, you use for leather work and things, or a skewer, like a metal skewer, okay? And so where you want the leaves to come, all right? So if you want to have the sort of the leaves here, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my little tool here, and I'm going to go in at almost a straight angle like that into the soft paste. All right, so what I'm doing there is I'm making a hole into there. Okay, just going to make sure that the hole is going to be deep enough. And your wires can be trimmed a little bit. You know, of course I use these, but you can cut these down just a little bit. But I wouldn't cut them less than about 2.5 centimeters, about 1 inch, okay? So your wire will just go, so your wire would go into there, so you know that's going to work okay, all right? And then you'll do the same, so then I'm going to do the other one I'm going to have like here. So again, I'm just going to come in at an angle with my, here like so. And again, I'm just going to cut that down. Just going to run my tape down a little bit on this one here. There we go. And you can cut this down, as I said, to about 1 inch in length here, about 2.5 centimeters, okay? All right, and I'm just gonna check that that one is gonna go, that's gonna sit into there like that, okay? So then what we're gonna do is gonna take some little bit of softened paste. So this is some I've had from obviously doing the preparation ready for the video, but just to show you how to do that. So you're just going to take a little bit of your leftover paste. So this is the modified, which this has gum in it, so it's going to make it dry more quickly. And then you put that in a little container, and then you're just going to add just a little bit of water to that. And you're going to just use a little knife here. You're just going to start to mix this up. So literally this is just your modified fondant and a little bit of water. And you want to make quite a thick glue. So if you do make this too runny, all right, If you do make it too runny, what you can do there is you can just add a little tiny bit more of the paste. And then what we would then do is going to take my companion tool here. I'm going to take a little bit of this softened paste, and I'm going to put this onto the wire. So see, I'm just going to pop that onto the wire there like so. And then I'm going to take and this is going to sit into here. Don't worry too much about the leaf position at this stage, because you can, it's going to push this in. All right, just make sure you go into that, and it's going to just pull and you're going to use a little bit of that softened paste just around where the bamboo goes into the stem. It's more your angle there. All right, so it's going to pop that in like that, and then your other one would then go into here. So it's going to just pop this on. So again, just put some softened paste here. But when you put the wire in, as I said, you're going in at quite a shallow angle here. All right, so it's going to take and that's going to sit into there. You're just going to smooth that off, and then taking your companion tool, you're just going to smooth off your excess paste. Okay. Now then, at this stage, what I would then do is I would put it into some crepe foam. So I usually just place it in some crepe foam like this, the convoluted foam. And then that will be how you dry it. So then what we need to do is now we're going to put it back in the food dehydrator, or just leave it like this for a few hours. Then you can stand it upright into a piece of styrofoam or a cake dummy until that is totally dry. Okay. So obviously we need the second half to dry, and we need to obviously this part here. And then when you have finished that, once this is dry, if you do have any little areas where you do have like a little, once this is dried, of course, you can go back in and put a little bit more softened paste around here. And then also, you don't usually have so much of a seam issue when you're doing one half and letting it dry as you do when you do the complete. But if you do have any little areas, you see how like there's a little tiny split there. So what you would then do is, once it's easier to do this once it's totally dry, you're just going to then literally just use a little bit of the softened paste, and you see how you can just run that down. And I generally just use like a wet towel, washcloth or flannel, and I just fill that in with some softened, just the softened fondant, and just with your wet finger. And that will then give you a lovely finish on the bamboo, okay? And so the bamboo would then dry. And so this is one that I have that's dry, all right? So once that's dry, you'll see how then your bamboo, and then of course, then when we move on a little later to the coloring, you can of course bend the leaves to whatever position you want them to go into. All right. Now, so that is one option. So then next I'm going to show you where you make both halves at the same time and just talk a little bit about the differences. So now we're going to move on to show you how to do an all-in-one piece of bamboo. So I'm going to show you the medium one, which is going to be number 13 size. So basically we're using the same technique, but you'll just see then the two different options. This is also the technique I would use when I'm doing lucky bamboo, because lucky bamboo is going to be curled. All right, sometimes lucky bamboo is straight, but sometimes it's curled like this. So you would need to do this technique with the way I'm showing you. This is also the same way on my other video I showed how to do the bamboo for the purse handle or luggage handle. And so you have to do that all in one piece so that you can of course bend it. So here I'm going to take the medium one here, a little bit of the vegetable shortening goes into here. So the only difference between the two techniques is when you do the second half, of course the first half is going to be soft. So you have to just be a little bit more careful. But the other thing is you're going to get usually a little bit more of a seam because you can't, of course, press it like we did the dry one. But the advantage of this is that if you're in a hurry, you can do this all at the same time, let the whole thing dry, and then of course then do the filling in. So you just have a little bit more filling in with this one. All right, so here you're going to go through here like that. So again, this is a number 13 one, so number 13 regular size. And here we're going to take same concept. We're going to use the scraper. So here we're on the middle, like almost like the middle step of the 3 steps. And then we're going to take your, so again, going to do this so it comes nearly to the top, okay? We're going to brush some piping gel, just something sticky. I just generally do this over one side of it because then when you turn it over, it means the sticky side is going to be down. So you just rotate your around here. I'm going to put this into the middle there, like so. Push this in, and just using your scraper, just press that on the top to embed it. So remember, we're a little bit short of the edge because we want to hollow this out. You're going to flex your mold. It's going to be your first piece, okay? And then you repeat the process again. So you do this straight away. You repeat the process. And when you watch my other video where I did the purse handle, what I did there is I had the wire at each end. So I have like wire at each end of the paste. So you take it out, you do the second half, then you actually bend it into the curve. So you'll see that technique is shown on that second video. So again, we're just going to take your paste here, just going to stretch this down. You have a little bit more paste than you need here. Just trim that off. Again, we're just going to just press that in with the scraper. Going to take your piping gel. So using the scraper is important and the cosmetic sponge because you want to make sure the top of this is flat, so that you have good adherence. And then what we do is you're going to, just going to line this up. So you see how you're just going to line this up. So you actually sort of see the little indentations there. So you'll see the little tiny indentations. So you see how you're just going to line these up with the lines there. So remember, this one, you can't really sort of press too hard because if not, you're going to disform. But also when you press, just press into the sort of the middle areas there. All right, just going to flex your mold. Now this one, as I said, then you're just going to gently go along and just going to press it. But because they're both halves are soft, all right, but just make sure you just press it where you can. All right, and then literally what you do is you're just going to leave this to dry. So we're going to cut the end of this first. So again, we'll now just cut that at an angle. So you see, I'm just going to cut that at an angle. And then again, I'm going to take my wooden dowel here. You see, then you're just going to just do the whole thing at one time. So you're just going to just hollow that top. All right. And then you're going to lay this on some foam. Generally, I just lay this on flat foam like this. And then again, pop this in my food dehydrator. And then once that is dry, all right, then you're going to, and again, of course, if you're going to put the leaves in here, you can put the leaves in and put it into the crepe foam and then let it dry, all right? But as I said, if you're going to, especially if you're going to do this type of bamboo where you're going to not have leaves on there, this is generally an easier way to do it, and overall quicker way as well, because now we just let the whole thing dry. You don't have to wait for the first half to dry and then the second half to dry. The whole thing just dries. And then once you finish that, again, you just would, once this is finished, all you're going to then do is you're going to just take your, you see here, you're going to have a little bit more time spent on the seams because you can't get them. But all you do here is just, again, just going to rub this down. So I just put some of the softened paste onto my, and then again, just use a wet finger and just fill that in. So it's very easy to fill in. Of course, once it's dry, it's not going to move around. And that's how you would do the bamboo in the all-in-one method. Okay, so you've got two different methods. And as I explained, when you're doing the bamboo here, of course, with the handle and also with the lucky bamboo, which I'm going to now explain in the next segment. So when you are making lucky bamboo is a popular house plant, and there's a curly lucky bamboo. There's also a straight variety as well. But so here, what I've done is I've just done exactly the same as I've just shown you, or if you were doing the purse handle, in that your wire wants to extend out of both ends, all right? So when you do this, now the only difference here, this wire is actually just a 24 gauge wire. I'm using a thinner wire, so you just fill whichever cavity. This is in a bright green. You put 24 gauge wire, but you want the wire to extend at each side. You take it out, you then do the second half. Now, as soon as that comes out of as soon as you've done that, you're just going to wrap that around like for example, a PVC pipe, a rolling pin, something to give you the curve, okay? Then what you're going to do at one end of this, the end that you want to have at the bottom, you're going to just take this is a half length 18 gauge wire. So you put a little bit of piping gel onto that, and you're just going to stick that out just into one end of the paste, all right? So because what that's going to do, once that's dry, that's going to give you stability to your piece, okay? And you let that dry, and then once it's dry, you're going to take a pair of wire cutters. So the other end of this, we're going to cut off here, like so. And then all you're going to do then is you're just going to put like a little end cap onto there. So you're just going to take a little piece of paste here. This is just going to actually just be a fairly small piece of paste. It's going to be about a number 5 size. And this is just bright green fondant. So in my other video, this is the color I use for the side of the green bamboo on the cake. And this is again just showing you another option, and that is that you just do this as a separate end cap. But of course, if you're, just make sure you get the wire down there. I'm going to put just a little bit of piping gel onto the end there. I'm just going to just take your number 5 onto the end. And again, we're just going to use your little wooden dowel here. Okay. You can just sort of blend the paste into the top there, but you just want this little top piece onto there. And again, you can just use your little scraper, pair of scissors, just to mold this around. So you're just leveling that out, and then you can just re-hollow out the top. Okay. And so with lucky bamboo, sometimes you'll see lucky bamboo like this, all right? And other times, if you look at this, if you look on on Google, the lucky bamboo sometimes has the leaves growing from the top, all right? So if you're going to do that technique, what you would then do is you could actually, so usually on lucky bamboo, the leaves just come from the top. So again, what you can do there is you could take your little leaves, and again, you can just, while that's soft, all right? So once you've made it, you can cut the wire off the top, because you need the wire to be able to bend it around, but then you can cut the top off, and again, you just would use your little, and you just would make a little hole into the top of it, like so. And then you can let that dry, and then you can take your leaves, and you can put, you don't need to do the extra little piece on this, because they just grow from the top. Just put your softened paste onto there. So you put some green of the green paste you have, and then this would just go on to the top there, like so. And so you just would do groups of leaves coming out of the top, and that is sort of how you do lucky bamboo. Now also, if you were doing a sort of small bamboo, or you want to do a simplified bamboo, you can also, if you don't want to worry about doing the little side pieces like this, or on the pieces like I showed on the leaves, you can also have your leaves ready, just tape them together, just bend them at an angle, and then literally you can put some softened paste on them. And while your bamboo is soft, you can literally just sort of push the leaves in like this, and then the larger leaves as well. And then once that's dry, just fill that in, all right? So there are lots of options there, because when we're doing cakes for customers, we have to take into consideration time, and time is labor. Labor is cost. So the thing is that those are all things you have to consider. So you can just do groups of leaves coming out of the bamboo without worrying about doing the extension. This is, of course, going to make it more realistic as to how it grows. But as I said, you can do a simplified version of that. Now, you can also, of course, do, so that would be like how you do lucky bamboo. And you can also do more like fantasy. So actually here, this bamboo is going to go on the red cake I showed in my previous video because I have a gold bamboo board. So what I did there is I actually made these leaves in cream color. All right, so in cream colored flour and gum paste. I use white wire and I tape them together with white floral tape. And then I've got, obviously this was made, you can see, in a cream color. I haven't painted all of this, all right, it was made in a cream color. And then what you would then do with this one is I made this as an all-in-one piece. And then I literally, here, I don't have the extension on these. I've literally just taken those, remember these are white tape, and I've just pushed them in with some softened paste. And then once that is all dry, this would then be painted in gold or in lots of other colors, because you can of course do like, silver bamboo with, for example, a beautiful red peony, or gold bamboo with a red peony. So if your customer or client wants some metallic, that is a way to do it. So you don't always have to do the bamboo in realistic colors. But as I said, here you can see these are just taped together, but I didn't add the extension. So this is really more of a simplified way of making the bamboo. So on my bamboo for cakes, cookies, and cupcakes, I showed how to do the board here. So here you see I have bamboo around the red fondant cake. And then I painted this with the rainbow dust gold. So I'm just showing you the last little bits here. I'm going to put the gold onto the leaf. So you see I'm doing the whole thing in gold. And then here what I did, I've done the top of this one just like I showed the lucky bamboo, where I put a number 5 piece of paste on as a separate. And I'm just going to paint that off. So as I said, you can either hollow out while it's soft or just leave it square or at an angle and then put the extra piece on top. So you see here we have the bamboo. So a little later in this video, I'm going to show this gold bamboo sitting onto this cake. So a very striking color combination. And of course, in a lot of like Chinese weddings, red and gold are the 2 traditional colors. So this is a nice way of adding, as I said, a little bit of bling, a little metallic here with the bamboo. And I'm going to be showing you this with some black rocks, just to give a very simple cake for like an anniversary or a bridal wedding shower. So for the coloring, we can start off with the sort of like, this is a lime green, a moss green. This one was done with a moss green. This one I'm going to do in a lime green. And you'll see it's just going to be a little bit brighter. So again, depending on what sort of palette of colors you're working with, because if you're working with tropical flowers or like Asian flowers like peonies or things like that, you might want to go a little bit more brighter, or a little bit more natural green. So whichever color green you want to use, so like a limey green or a mossy green. So you can see, of course, the lime green is brighter. I'm going to put some of that onto napkin. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to brush this just gently up and down. So I don't want a solid effect, but I want to just sort of put this over, just over the stem. Put a little bit onto the side stem here. All right, and I'm also going to just brush a little bit of that just around the top as well. I'm also going to use that same color on the leaves. Now, when you do the leaves, you just need to support these on your hands. That's also why I've got gloves on as well. So you're just going to brush all over the leaf with that same lime or moss green. So whatever color you've used on the, and you can also put that onto the back of the leaf as well. Okay, so we're going to put that onto the leaves. But just as I said, just go in, but you just want, the color doesn't want to be all over it. It's just going to be sort of just like little highlights of the, you can see the color is just going to come down here like so. Okay, so that's going to be with that green. And of course that can go back into your little container. Then I'm going to use a foliage green. So this is a darker green. So I'm going to use foliage green, and I'm going to use that just as an accent on down the middle of the leaves. All right, so I've already done so I'm just going to brush this down the middle of the leaf here. So I'm going to get this sort of darker highlight. You can also do this on the back of the leaf as well, just like a stripe down the back. So you're going to get this sort of just this contrast color. Okay, so that's going to be done. So that's going to be our greens. Then we're going to change out. So now I'm going to just change out to a sort of brown gray color. So I'm going to use, this is some Dove Gray, and this is just some pale chocolate browns. This is chocolate brown. This is with a little bit of corn flour into it. So you can just also just add a little bit of corn flour to this mixture. But so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take a little bit of brown, light brown, and a little bit of gray. Just going to mix them together. So you're almost going to get this sort of like donkey sort of color, this sort of browny gray color. And then what we're going to do, we're going to just sort of brush that around where the main sort of ribs are. So just going to put that around. So you can see I'm using a brush here. Just going to brush this around the little small ones as well. Around here. Just have to be a little bit careful with this because of course you've got the leaves already attached. Okay, and then I'm going to put also a little bit of that brown, that lighter brown gray color just onto the top there. So where you have the tip of the bamboo, okay. And then with some just light chocolate, so just with the chocolate, I'm going to put a little bit of chocolate just at the base of where the leaves meet the little stem here. So you see the bottom of the floral tape, where they meet that, we're going to put that there as well. And then you can just put just a little bit of the darker brown around the edge of that. So you're just accentuating that sort of that tip, okay? But it's going to just put that brown here like so. Then we're going to take some brown dust. All right, so this is the chocolate dust. I'm just going to mix that with a little bit of vodka. Of course, you could also totally do this with gel color as well, but a lot of times, because, you know, browns vary a lot, so you could have a gel color which is a totally different shade of brown. So a lot of times when I'm using dust and painting on the same flower, like on an orchid, a lot of times I would dust with, say, pink on an orchid, and I would then use the same pink for your dots. So I'm just going to mix this up, and then here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a small brush. This is just a 10-0 brush. I'm just going to just paint that. So I'm literally just rotating the bamboo. You see where the lines are there. You have this really nice natural little lines. This will just go, and that will give you your brown. Okay. So you can do that on the main lines. And also you're going to just do that on the little side ones as well. So you see how you're going to get that sort of that nice color, okay? And then I'm going to take some green. So this is some green dust. This is the lime green dust I use. So you're just going to put a little bit of that into a dish. And again, I'm going to, now this is the same technique I used on my green bamboo on my cake bamboo video, so watch that. So I'm using a fan brush. So a fan brush, when I do this on the bamboo, I use this to sort of paint lines on here, okay? But I want this quite weak. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to just brush down with this brush. So you're going to get these almost like sort of really sort of slightly darker green, but like natural looking lines on the bamboo. So you're just going to just brush down. This wants to be quite watery. This just helps to give you this nice sort of blended color. A fan brush you'd buy in a sort of art supply store online. It's just, but I like to use this. I use this also on the rattan as well. Okay, so that is how we do the coloring. And then you just want to just let that dry for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to show you how to finish this off. So here you can see some of the colors of the bamboo, and on my other video where I show for cake, I talk about doing this, but you'll see how with that fan brush, this just gives this really nice like lines. This was done with chocolate brown, brush down the bamboo. But anyway, so once the paint and dust, you know, if you finish the dust, we're then move it on to the next step. So we're going to then just lightly steam the bamboo. So we're going to just steam the whole thing. All right, so we're just going to use the steamer. Then once that steams, we're just going to just lightly steam the whole of the bamboo. Just again, be careful of the leaves here. And then we're going to very lightly spray this with a spray lacquer. So we're just going to just very lightly, remember, do this on a protected surface. So just going to very lightly spray onto the bamboo. And then this will just, as I said, just very lightly, okay? And it's going to give you this nice natural luster to the bamboo and to the leaves. And then you want to stand this up, ideally stand it up into a cake dummy or as a block of styrofoam for this to dry. I'm going to show you how to put flowers, or actually in this case bamboo, onto this cake. So this is a cake I talked about in the episode that I have, the video of using the bamboo for cakes, cupcakes and cookies. So this has got a molded piece, a painted gold molded piece of bamboo around the back of it. And then in my in this video I talked about the bamboo. Now this bamboo I've actually done on a bamboo skewer. So instead of using an 18 gauge wire, an alternative if you're going to stick these into a cake is to put them onto bamboo kebab skewers. And of course you can get these in different lengths. This is just a sort of a short one which I've used. You can see the length of this. So the advantage of bamboo is because bamboo is used for food, you can use these and push this straight into a cake, or in this case into the cake board. Now for this particular cake I'm going to add some little chocolate rocks. So these are just like little chocolate rocks you can buy online or in some like candy sweet shops, and made from chocolate, and they come in obviously these different colors. And I use these on a lot of different types of cakes, like when I do succulents, when I did my toadstool and mushroom cakes, I use some of these to sort of fill in. So it's a very good thing to have on hand for cupcakes and all sorts of things. And because obviously they're chocolate, they taste yummy too. I picked out some of the black ones. And so there's two ways of doing this. One way is you can make them look a little bit like almost like gold nuggets. So these have been done. So I just put some of them, the black ones, into a bag. And then what I've done here is I'm going to take some of my, this is my metallic gold I painted the bamboo with. I'm just going to just put a little bit of this, going to suck that up into a pipette. I'm just going to put a couple of drops of that into there. Remember, this is water soluble. And then you can just shake your little rocks in there. And then this will sort of basically just make them like, sort of have like a gold look to them. But this technique can be used on cupcakes and all different applications. And so then what you would do is once you've got that completed, you would take those and just sort of, as I said, just move them around in the gold. This is just the easiest way to paint them. And you take those out and just pop those onto, and you can see how you're going to get the sort of the gold on them like that, okay? And then if you put more gold on, so like if you put more gold in the bag, you can almost like paint them all over, okay? But here I've got this, just this like gold speckle on there. Now another way you can do that is you can also put them onto a piece of parchment paper, and then you can take the gold paint with your brush, or you can use the click twist brushes here as well, and you can just sort of put just like some little dabs of gold all over the rocks, just sort of here and there, okay? Of course, these come in different colors, and you can get different size rocks like this. I'm also going to use on the cake, these are actually candy rocks, and they're made like almost like jelly beans. So these look like almost like river rocks. And of course, you could totally make these out of paste as well. I'm just showing you some ideas of ways you can finish off cakes. But I'm going to use, so I have some of these, as I said, just going to add those to my rocks there. And then I've also going to use on the cake, I have a Katy Sue mold. So this is a mold which is the dream driftwood, and these are the letter pebbles or stones. And so what I did there is I took some black fondant, I just modified with a little bit of Tylose powder, and I pressed it into the love, and then I painted in with the gold. So I actually just used a small brush, and then I just like rubbed over with my finger. So I get that again, that same sort of, you know, so you see how they sort of match nicely together. And so this is a Katy Sue mold, and as I said, but just sort of I'm going to use this to represent like for an anniversary cake, or for example, this could be used for Valentine's Day cake. And so we're going to do that with this theme. Now, first thing we're going to do is going to take my cake and going to decide where my bamboo is going to stick. All right, so I'm going to have the bamboo sort of in the front here. I'm just going to just sort of push that into the paste here. So it's going to sort of sit like there. So I have a hole there. And again, I'm going to use my scribe needle or my bradawl. And I'm just going to go into there, because this is a styrofoam or styrene board. So I'm going to go into there. So I'm making a hole through there like so. Okay, going to hold with my fingers. Just going to pull that out. And just make sure that your bamboo skewer is obviously not too long, because you might need to trim that down a little bit if needed, but you can see that's going to be fine. And then what I would do there is going to take so this is just some of my leftover red sugar paste from covering this cake. And I'm going to just soften a little bit of that with some water. I'm going to put just a little bit of that just around the bottom of the bamboo. Now, because this is a decoration on the cake board, this wouldn't be eaten, this part of it. So you could also, an alternative would be to take, you could use a hot glue gun, a little bit of hot glue if you want to set this instantly, but also like shown on my toadstool and mushrooms, you could also put a little bit of melted like isomalt or hard candy here as well. And then we're just going to just press this into so this is going to just go into into there like so. And that will give me my bamboo. So my bamboo will sit here. And then you can just, of course, move the leaves as needed like this. Now I'm going to going to use the little pebbles here. So I'm going to put just a little bit of, going to use some piping gel here. I'm just going to put some piping gel just around the bottom here. Just going to use a little bit of piping gel. Just going to put a little bit of piping gel, and then I'm going to attach the rocks. So I'm going to use some bead-in tweezers here. So these are bead-in type tweezers. So I'm just going to start to use just a little bit of piping gel. I'm just going to start to attach the rocks there to around here. So I'm going to continue with this now. I'm just going to finish this off, and then I'll be right back. So I'm just going to add my last couple of little chocolate rocks here. So you can have, of course, one or two of them just sort of randomly placed like that. And then I'm going to attach, these are the ones that look like, obviously, like a river rocks, the sort of gray color, gray-black color. And I'm going to, on those, because they're a little bit more dimensional and also a little bit larger, I'm going to use just a little bit of the softened red fondant here. You would always use the same color that the cake's made from. So that's just going to sort of sit here, like so. And then I'm going to take there's going to be my love here, which I'm just going to have sort of just leaning up against it like this. So this is very simple, but like very sort of like Zen, sort of Asian looking. And but just giving you ideas of how to use this. So we're just going to just put so I'm going to put a little bit of because this will stick more quickly than using the piping gel, because this will be covered with the little black here. So I'm going to put just a little bit of the red softened paste here, and I'm just going to have that. It's going to just sit here like this on the front. All right, so just a very simple cake, but just giving you ideas about ways of using bamboo that are going to obviously come from the board. And of course, this could be totally done in sort of natural bamboo, but obviously having the gold there is just a little bit of something a little bit different. But as I said, on top of a wedding cake, you could have gold bamboo, and you could have a beautiful red peony or other types of flowers. So here I have a cake that was covered in my video of how to use the bamboo. So this is the medium bamboo. This is the rattan mat. This is the bamboo on the edge. You get this beautiful effect. So if you haven't seen that video, check that out. So now I'm going to take my bamboo and I'm going to use the 2 pieces of bamboo. Plus I'm also going to be using a spray of Vanda orchid. So these are some purple Vanda, which obviously goes really nice with the bright green color and the sort of green from the bamboo and the rattan. And of course, that's a very Asian looking flower. Now I've made a little triangle. So I'm going to sort of like put going to have my bamboo, the large bamboo here, the smaller bamboo, and then I'm going to have my Vanda orchid. So I've just done a triangle. Now, when we put in flowers into, or stems into there, when you use wires, you can't put wires directly into a cake. So normally what we're going to do is we're going to use a little small straw. So these are some little small straws here, okay, like a cocktail straw. I'm using here green ones because obviously the cake is green, but you won't actually see these anyway. And then what you would do is you decide where you want to position your flower. I'm going to use a small stick. All right, so I'm going to use a small stick. If you don't have a stick that size, just use like a kebab skewer, a bamboo skewer. Just make a stick, use the bamboo skewer. Just wiggle that around a little bit. And then what you're normally going to do is you're going to take your straw, okay? So if the straw is soft, you're going to use the bamboo skewer, and then that sort of enables it so it won't bend. So you just sort of push the straw down, you take that out, and then you're going to then just cut that off. So we're just going to cut that off level, okay? And so that's going to be the first step. So once we know where we're going to position everything. So I already have the other two straws in place. Now, next step is going to be to have a look and see how the stems are in relation to the straws, meaning that, as you can see here, when we push this into the straw, it sort of wiggles around a little bit. So what I'm going to do, and we use this on flowers as well. Now the Vanda orchids, because we've got the orchid spray, that naturally stem is thicker. So when we actually push that in, you can see how it's a nice sort of snug fit. See how it doesn't sort of move around, whereas the wire from the bamboo does. So what we'll actually do there is going to take a little piece of tape. So we're just going to take some half-width floral tape, and I'm just going to go around a couple of times with the tape like this, and just going to slide this up to the bottom. And then I'm just going to go around just a few times around the bottom of, so what I'm doing is I'm thickening the bottom of the stem just underneath the bamboo, okay? And then you're just going to take your, straw there, and you see how that's nearly, you see how it's still a little bit loose. So then you're going to just go around a couple more times. So I'm just going to go around a couple more times just to sort of make a snug fit. So you see how that's now a snug fit into the, you see how it's in this, it's nice and snug like it was on the orchids, okay? So that's now ready for the next step. Now, so what I'm going to do, and I've already done that on the large one, so I'm going to now put my large bamboo. Now, of course, your wire needs to be cut a little shorter than the depth of your cake, all right? So just make sure that your wire, all right, your wire is a little shorter than your cake. So if you need to, just keep it as long as you can, but as I said, you can just trim that a little bit with some wire cutters. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put my bamboo, so it's going to be my large bamboo, that's going to go into there, and you see how it's going to give a snug fit, okay? So it's going to give a snug fit onto there like so. Now my other bamboo I'm going to have coming out at a slight angle, so I'm going to take my pair of pliers here, all right? And so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to hold the wire and just going to bend the stem out a little bit. Now you could use some softened paste like I've just shown on the gold bamboo, but this is quite a snug fit. So this is going to sit into here like so. So you see I'll have my other bamboo coming out at an angle like this. And then my Vanda orchid. So my Vanda orchid, I've cut that because I want those to go fairly low onto the cake there. I'm going to take my Vanda orchid, and my Vanda orchid will go into here like so. So I just need to got a little bit of tape onto there, and it's going to put your, it's got a little bit of a wire here. There we go. Just going to put that into there. You can just use your pair of pliers here. You can just push this down, so my Vanda orchid will come into here. You see, okay. Then, of course, I can look and see how my placement is as far as my placement goes. And then I can also just move things around a little bit as far as my bamboo goes. And you can, of course, your bamboo leaves, you can move those around as you can have those sort of coming out. So you can change your angle of your bamboo, and that will give you your piece there, okay? And then I'm going to finish these off with some rocks. So I'm going to attach some rocks here. So I'm going to use some piping gel. And again, alternatively, you could take your green fondant there. But again, I'm just going to use a little bit of piping gel around here. And then I'm going to take some rocks. And I'm going to be using the rocks in the sort of the browns and these sort of darker chocolate browns, because they really sort of tie in nicely with the color of the rattan. So you can see here that the rocks going to go in, and some of these, because these are almost like our two colors we have. So what I'm doing there is I'm sort of emulating what the colors I have from the obviously rattan there, so it brings the color up. So I'm going to just work on this and I'll be right back. So here we have our last little chocolate rock, but they give a really nice sort of natural effect. Because a lot of times when a floral designer uses bamboo, they're going to use like river rock. So of course you could do gray like I did on the red and gold cake, but here I've just used the sort of the natural colors. So again, a very sort of natural looking cake, but lovely for a set a small wedding or anniversary. And obviously here with my using my Ultimate Orchid collection mold, the Vanda Orchid, but Phalaenopsis, Dendrobiums, any type of orchid could be used, but also other Asian flowers like camellias, peonies, and other flowers will work really well as well for that. So I hope you've enjoyed this video of how to make realistic lifelike bamboo, and also where I talk about fantasy styles as well. Remember, check out my second video on using the bamboo for cake boards, cake sides like shown here, how to obviously use those. Also cookies and cupcakes as well. Until next time, sweet wishes. It's been Chef Nicholas Lodge. See you soon. Bye.